there's no doubt in my mind that lots of advertisers are coming to streaming because that's where the audiences are, that's where
Uh,
the eyeballs are. Unlike traditional linear TV, it's steeped in digital. We can track how it leads to page views, what it's doing for businesses and how it's growing those businesses. And that digital connectivity, I think, makes it more accountable to
um,
driving performance. And so, I'm confident that we're able to do that. And I'm confident that as folks continue to invest and continue to see those results, that'll become an even bigger part.
Hey everyone, my name is Dennis Mink, and I am here today with Jonathan Kriner. Jonathan, thanks for joining me on Just One Thing.
Thanks for having me, Dennis. Excited to be here.
Yeah. So I would love to kind of like get into a little bit of your background before we start talking about what you're doing at Roku. So maybe kind of give us some highlights. Like I know that you've been in the ad tech space for a long time. It looks like about a dozen years. Yeah, give us some highlights.
Yeah. So my career is largely in the ad tech kind of startup space. So I was the first marketing hire at a TV measurement company. I worked in digital measurement for a while, worked at an ad network, and have been at Roku a little less than 6 years. But I've done kind of that B2B marketing, product marketing, partner marketing, comms, kind of the gamut as most of the startup roles do. But Roku's kind of been the biggest startup I've been at, which kind of operates like a lot of the startups I've been at, but has been really fun. Ton of growth over the last couple years, and kind of a continuing a lot of that mix of digital and TV world that I did kind of before I joined Roku.
Cool, cool. So we speak a lot of the same language then. I've been like B2B ad tech for, I don't know, long time, a very long
Yeah,
time.
never stays the
Cool.
same.
So Roku, so tell me like how long have you been at Roku and what are you doing there now? What's your responsibilities?
Yeah, so I've been at Roku a little less than 6 years, which is wild. Because when I joined, we thought streaming was the everyone was talking about it. It was this massive growth opportunity, and then our streaming households just at Roku have exploded. Just a couple months ago, Nielsen released that streaming is now bigger than all traditional broadcast and cable, and so just that growth of streaming as a medium, as a behavior shift, especially as sports is kind of coming to streaming. That's certainly how I watched a lot of the World Series over the last couple of weeks. And so it's been kind of crazy to watch that growth, and kind of along with it, it's been helpful for me personally. So I started off doing marketing really for our performance channel, how advertisers are looking to drive performance on the Roku platform for the ad business. I did international for a bit. And now I lead our brand and our growth marketing, really focused on how do we grow Roku advertising overall. And then specifically, the Roku Ads Manager self-service platform, which we launched about a year ago, has been a ton of fun. Thinking about how can streaming be more accessible. Streaming advertising started with the biggest brands on TV, but that's changing. The prices are coming down, creative barriers are coming down with a lot of changes in AI. And so a lot of the dynamics are really changing what it can mean for as a media channel, what it means for how people are viewing and streaming and enjoying the streaming experience. And then, of course, kind of Roku's role within that as a leader in how people stream and how people access their favorite content.
Mm. I pulled some stats this morning. So streaming accounts for more than 40% of total TV time these days. CTV is now somewhere over, looks like it's over $30 billion a year spent on CTV. Let me ask you, like, maybe kind of help me understand, like, how to think about Roku. Because Roku, when we talk about CTV and investing in CTV, Roku, I always thought of as as a set top device and not necessarily a streaming platform. And I think so. How should we be thinking about this?
Yeah, it's a common question, and I think Roku started just as you said, as a way for people to access streaming. It actually originally our founder Anthony Wood was spun out of Netflix, and he long said even from the beginning that the future all TV will be streamed. The future of TV will all be streamed, and we're well along that way. But he predicted that far before it was maybe as obvious as it is now. And so Roku really is, I think, if it in kind of those three buckets. The first is still the devices. We make fantastic TVs, streaming sticks. We partner with TV manufacturers to release Roku powered televisions so people can access their content through a familiar Roku interface. Folks are probably familiar with the remote. We have audio products. We have other ways kind of surrounding that with sound bars, things like that, but all really around how do we help people access the content they love. And that is really, I think, the UX and that operating system that powers that hardware is really where the magic happens. And so every day, 125 million people view the Roku home screen. They see the Roku interface when they turn on their TVs, on average 25 days every month. So it's a habitual thing that they see. And that UX of the Roku home screen can help people find new shows, help organize the channels they know and love. And so, really, we think about how people spend a lot of time with the operating system and how they spend time with the Roku experience. But beyond the hardware and the UX, we also have our own content. We have our own channels, the Roku channels. We have media that we manage, shows we produce. I don't know if you caught up the I don't know if you caught the Weird Al movie a couple years ago with Daniel Radcliffe. Ton of fun. So we've invested in original content and just making sure that Roku's a part of that. We have travel shows with Tracy Ellis Ross. We're doing the Laguna Beach reunion show in a couple months. So a lot of really kind of fun stuff, which is really where Roku sits. That
So Roku makes their own original content. You also have an ads management platform for those who want to run CTV ads within the Roku experience, and then of course you've got the set top. Let alone you've got the actual software embedded into a growing number of monitors, television monitors. And is your market the U.S.? Is it Europe? Is it global? Like what?
Yeah. And so I largely focus on the US market, but we're a global business. We're the number one TV streaming platform in the US, Canada, and Mexico. We've got a lot of Roku TVs in Brazil, a lot growing there.
Is there anyone else out there who has a similar business model to Roku?
It's actually, funny when I think about the self-serve platform in our ad business, it really can take a lot of different lenses. Is it like your standard media company where, folks are traditional broadcast? Is it like the ad buying tools? There's plenty of ad buying platforms that are out there or demand side platforms. And then you've got folks like Amazon and Google who also have these kind of operating systems, but are some of our biggest partners because so many people watch YouTube and Amazon Prime Video right there on the Roku experience. And so, there's kind of competition and frenemies, and even with NBC, we had this huge partnership around the Olympics last year. So it's a very integrated platform, and then I think like we really embody that meaning as a platform. We have partnerships with Amazon. We have partnerships with Trade Desk. So however kind of advertisers want to buy, we're happy to do whatever they need to do. We partner with measurement companies and third-party ecosystem partners. We just launched a partnership with AppsFlyer to help mobile marketers really understand how streaming inventory might help drive app downloads or app installs or purchases and things like that. And so it does make it tough to answer a question like who's the direct competitor because um, that can kind of be confusing, but I think we think of ourselves as the center of TV, the leader, and the future of how people watch content. And we want things, that influence of streaming is all really happening on the Roku platform.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you're combining so many things into a single business. I'm trying to think like maybe an Amazon, like who really has all the parts that Roku has. So, well, let's talk about, let's get into what you're specifically focusing on, which is the Roku Ads Manager platform. I know you have some very interesting stories and challenges as you are building this out, but take us through it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think when you think about Roku's ad business from the get go, it really started with the biggest brands on TV seeing that linear was declining, streaming was growing. They just kind of ported over their TV experience into the streaming environment. And so over time, as streaming's grown, ad prices have come down. We've needed to diversify our ad business. Things like AI and helping with creative have really changed the game. And so as we try to think about how do we get more advertisers to see what is happening in streaming to make that more accessible, we talked to a lot of performance marketers in the space, and they were looking for ways to get into streaming in a really easy way. Uh, maybe they already work with a DSP, and DSPs are great. They have all the bells and whistles. You might hire an agency to manage it, but sometimes you just need something that feels like Facebook Ads Manager or AdWords that's kind of easy to use, easy to in-house, easy to onboard, pull your creative up, upload your audiences, all that kind of stuff. So we really built Roku Ads Manager with that in mind, and we launched about a year ago. And it's how do we help performance marketers really understand and see success in streaming? And so that's what I've been working on, and the team when we launched that about a year ago. And it's crazy kind of launching it from scratch, but also as part of a larger company. We think like, what does Roku represent? And some people don't even know what Roku is, to our earlier part of our conversation. To know that Roku has an ad business that has all this scale, to then know that we have the Roku Ads Manager platform. We've really thought about how to tell that story cohesively from top to bottom. Because if you don't realize that Roku is the leader in TV streaming, or the scale of which you need the scale for to be a performant platform and to find the audience and find your next customer. And so that's been really successful for us. And so I've been thinking a lot. We hired a growth marketer. We've got our ad agency. We've built the media machine. We're focused on kind of the onboarding and all of the things that support, how to really make sure we're telling our story, getting that in front of the right people, and then helping people understand what to do with CTV. That might be a new medium for them or a new channel investment, which has been really exciting.
So I've got a couple questions. So, so if like marketers want to run campaigns on Roku, is the only option to go direct using the self-serve platform?
So no, not at all. It's kind of to the point where I think of us as the TV streaming platform, the operating system. We're really trying to meet advertisers however they want to purchase or however they want to access Roku streamers. Again, we make up half of streaming, so I think I think of us as the leader. So however you want to buy streaming inventory, it's going to come to Roku at some point, right? And so there's tons of great just direct IO type of opportunities. If you want to be part of that sponsored content, you want to be part of the home screen. That's kind of a direct business. If you want to work more self-service in an ad platform where you get all the great reporting, upload your audiences, pull your team in, that's kind of what the ads manager is for. But if you buy streaming through the Trade Desk or DV360 or Amazon or some other ad buying platform of choice, we're trying to, if we don't already have those integrations, we're really focused on making those integrations happen, because we believe that the performance, like the influence of a streaming ad on streamers, happens on the Roku platform. And so however you want to participate in that, however you want to find and engage those audiences, we're here to help advertisers do that.
What are some of the immediate challenges that you're working through?
The goal is really for us to diversify our demand and to show that streaming can be a performance platform. And so we're seeing, I can't give exact numbers, but a lot of great response and folks really buying into that. And we're seeing a wide diversity of advertisers find success through the ads manager platform. So B2B advertisers like Rollo, which makes printers, to insurance companies like Freeway Insurance, to mobile marketers like Fliff. So we've got a lot of really great different types of advertisers coming into the platform and saying, okay, like streaming is a part of the media mix, and seeing that work. And I think the challenge to that is it's still new. So even basic questions like who's the ICP and things like that, just like basic marketer challenges. When it's really broad, something like streaming can be upper funnel, it can be performance, it can be full funnel, it can be an extension of a campaign, it can be a center of a campaign. It can start to feel a little bit like you're opening your trench coat and being like, all right, what do you want? Like, do you want app installs? Do you want purchases? Do you want to drive brand lift? And so that as it's new, right? A year might sound like a long time, but we're standing up the infrastructure, we're investing in the MarTech strategy, we're still hiring the team, and still trying to make sure that we're clear, what customer pain points are we really here to solve, and what what is that scales, right? And how do we make sure that we're getting in front of those specific audiences? And that's been a really fun challenge, but like a constant iterative journey to make sure that we're telling the right stories in the right ways, as we also, our product is changing every couple months. We're releasing big new features that might change the entire use case for certain types of advertisers. And so that's just been really exciting in the pace. And, we're part of a larger company. So, sometimes we can move really fast. Sometimes, it's actually, we can move faster by being a little slower. And so thinking about those dynamics too are fun, but certainly make it a hard marketing challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, given how much a CTV is growing and dollars are shifting into, from linear to, to CTV to streaming. I mean, clearly there is a migration and movement, and increasing investment in the CTV space. But I'm sort of wondering like how much, and I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like how much of your target market is long tail versus those that are like mid to large size, enterprise, where like naturally already then media companies shifting dollars towards CTV.
So historically, the ad business has been almost exclusively big enterprise advertisers. And I think that's what we're trying to change. So instead of it being hundreds of the advertisers you see on TV all the time, how do we go to thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and make that opportunity grow? But I think there's no doubt in my mind that lots of advertisers are coming to streaming because that's where the audiences are, that's where the eyeballs are. unlike traditional linear TV, it's steeped in digital. We can track how it leads to page views. We can share, what it's doing for businesses and how it's growing those businesses. And that digital connectivity, I think, makes it more accountable to driving performance. And so, I'm confident that we're able to do that, and I'm confident that as folks continue to invest and continue to see those results, that'll become an even bigger part. And so, TV has felt inaccessible, and I just think the entire landscape has made it ripe for performance marketers to really enter the CTV space, which we're certainly seeing.
I would imagine thinking about I worked on and off in my career with an SMB
Hmm.
focus, on and off for sure. And I could only imagine like if part of what you're aiming for is like really expand the market by bringing in more. For example, I'd have to imagine there's number one, there's an educational piece to this. What is this? Why
Yeah.
should I? And then there's the how do I? How do I actually go about doing this? Right? Kind of like explain to me, which and then I'm immediately thinking of like Google as a model, like with Google, like Google AdWords or their search ads, what are they called these days? I don't know. They rebranded a lot. I'm like I see them as probably like one of the best models to kind of like but then there's specifically there's this other piece to this, which is I can imagine SMB saying, okay, I understand this. I can basically run ads on television very easily. I could set up and do it myself or work with a marketer or someone or a small agency. But then there's the content piece. Like what is it that who do I, so there's this, how do I actually go about creating an ad that I can serve on television as well? How do you run? I have to imagine you run into that quite a bit.
All the time. And I think this goes to this is Roku's really first foray into large scaled advertisers. And so, but that also comes with diversity of different client types. And so, some advertisers know exactly what to do with a pixel, and some advertisers are, how do I install this pixel? Right. So you get the basics, and some folks really, it's not like you're buying the Bachelor at 8 p.m. on ABC, and you buy the ad spot and you tune in and you see your ad. The advertisers aren't often the target market, so they're not seeing their ads. It's kind of, you plug into a system, trust that it's going to focus and reach the audience, and then it's going to deliver the results, which you'll then kind of see in the platform and your business overall. And so I think, to your point, just the diversity in trying to make sure we have the right questions for the right levels of education, because especially a lot of the agencies, they know streaming well. They've been buying it for a really long time. They're really up to speed. They know where it sits. And some folks might be, I just started launching on YouTube. I'm seeing some success. I have a Roku TV. I want to understand where this can all fit in. How do I think about this? What can I see for $500? Is that going to move my business forward? Do I need to spend 10,000? Is this creative work? Do I need new creative? And so, lots of questions that we're trying to, figure out how to make sure we've got really crisp answers for. The tough part is it certainly depends for different types of advertisers and different backgrounds or geo constraints or whatever it is that an advertiser may have. Some of those recommendations on which type of creative should you use. Should you have an action ad overlay where people can connect? Should you integrate this with your Shopify store? All of those might totally vary based on the types of advertiser, or how much they're thinking about streaming as a component of their mix or a focal point of their mix.
Yeah. So what's like do you have like one or two specific challenges that you're focusing on right now? Is it like how do I get more advertisers to request information or create accounts, or is it the education so that they will then continue? Is it how do I get them to scale, or is it a retention issue? Like what are you focusing on?
Yeah. Uh, the answer is D, all of the above. It's just a matter of prioritizing. I think, to start, we've spent a lot of time over the last year really getting the media mix up and running, so we can understand, like, how much does it cost for us to acquire an advertiser? What is our real benchmark from sign up to creating an ad account, to uploading a payment information, to uploading creative, to then launching a campaign? How long does it take, on average, from sign up to spend, and kind of aggregating those metrics? And so now we're thinking a lot about, well, how do we influence each of those funnels? How do we use media to maybe accelerate a sign up through to spend? How do we use different life cycle marketing? How should we use our sales team? Because at the same time as our marketing work has been stood up over the last year. We've also stood up a robust sales team to make sure advertise and support team to make sure that clients have somebody to talk to. Or when they ask for a demo, we have folks who can give them demos and things like that. But as we think about like how do we influence those conversion points at scale, it's kind of certainly the big focus of mine. And then as we scale, just making sure people see the platform. It's interesting, and Dennis, I don't know if you've had this experience, but a lot of these ad platforms, especially the ones not focused on SMBs, they're kind of secretive. Like you have to have an account or talk to a rep to see what they look like. It's almost like folks aren't necessarily proud of the platforms. They're like, oh, you got to kind of buy to the value prop before you kind of see how to do it. But for us, Roku overall, as a consumer brand, we think of as really easy to use, great value. And we're really proud of the platform. It's really easy to use. It drives performance. We think marketers of all sizes and backgrounds can go figure out how to use. And so we want to get the visual of help us show what it does instead of just telling people about it. And so that's another big kind of focus here of mine, how we bring this platform to life as something that is a
Yeah.
no-brainer, easy to use, something we should be testing and experiencing versus this kind of like secret platform that we're just going to talk about.
I know what you mean. I find that a lot of that, like, no, 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 you need to like, have a demo, et cetera. I do actually find that it's so silly. It's like a lot of the hesitancy often comes down to lack of pride in the actual like dashboard, like the reporting dashboard or the self-serve flow. So there's like, hey, there's like, we're gonna have to like, we don't want to share that, expose that too much because we're not super proud. Oh, and we're working on it. Team's always working. I do find a
Mhm.
lot. I think, I'd have to imagine, like, I'm just thinking, like, I've been through this plenty where, like, I'm running marketing for a company that offers like multiple products and services or products or a one core product that can be, with like multiple audiences that we're targeting and investing and going after. That is hard. I mean, that is very, very challenging if you don't like have a big team or you don't have a lot. I mean, I think candidly, you just don't have, don't have like the right size team then, and you're going after multiple audiences. So, for example, I'm thinking like, I want to ask you like, oh man, like I think about like within like the mobile like the mobile programmatic, the mobile performance space. I go, there's all these performance marketers that it'd be very easy. Like it'd be a much easier, very much easier to like adopt CTV as a channel as long as you got kind of like good measurement and attribution in place. Like, and they're just like, hey, let's just add you guys as a channel and kind of like experiment and test. That is very different from an SMB audience. And so I'm like just sort of like maybe kind of speak to this. Like, how do you actually go about prioritizing which audiences are going after?
I think to really hone in our audiences, the first is we're doing a lot of analytics and research over which of our customers are the right ideal customer and how do we then build the right journeys and stories around that. And so a big focus of mine has then been the MarTech and that foundation to enable that to happen. So how do we enrich customers as they sign up to know what vertical they're in or how big their organizations are or different signal that we might be able to use to make sure they get the right question and answer, the right onboarding experience, and when it should go to a seller who might be able to give them a more tailored custom onboarding or journey. And so that's been a really big focus of mine to make sure we've got the foundational tools, but also it starts with like who's succeeding on the platform and how do we make sure we're finding more of those and then building advocates. So I'm sure Dennis, like what grows performance like performance marketers tell other performance marketers where the next channel is and where the great opportunity is. And so we also believe like the performance, if we continue to deliver it to the right marketers in the right way, we're also want to amplify and make sure that those stories get told in the right ways.
Another question I have for you is how exactly are you integrating partners in your marketing strategy?
Yeah, great timing. We actually just released the Roku Ads API just a little bit ago, which has been really exciting and meant for just that. So it's built for developers to build around the Roku ad platform and the Roku Ads Manager kind of self-service platform. And so we've got APIs for reporting and audiences and tracking conversions. We're working on extending that to creative and campaign management. So a whole host of different partners. We're really excited to kind of build around this platform and really make it easier for advertisers, whoever they work with, to find the right way and the right way to access streaming, whether that's about measuring that performance or testing their creative or building signal around their kind of conversion events. So really exciting time for us to extend and really develop that ecosystem.
I'm just really curious, like what are you experimenting with when it comes to AI, let alone where you're having success?
Yeah. I think about this a lot, and the two big areas are creative and in data enrichment, and how do we use that to inform workflows. But I think the thing that takes up the most mindset for me is how AI is changing the discovery engine of where new advertisers will be going to find out how to enter CTV or where they should be. And so I'm very closely monitoring our referral traffic from ChatGPT, or we see it in our UTM tracking, and it's wild that it's just such a black box. And so we saw a huge spike in referral traffic from like January through August, a big spike September, October, and we don't know why. And so I'm spending a lot of time thinking about how do we influence that journey? Where do we need community to be talking about Roku to influence those things, but without knowing what people are searching for? It's kind of a scary, daunting thing of how much do we invest? Am I significantly underinvested? What's the risk if I overinvest in kind of creating content for technology as an audience? Should I be thinking about technology as an audience? So I think when I think about the mind share of the future and how people discover the ways to get on streaming, they might start their Q&A on how to make sure their creative's ready for the Roku ad platform with ChatGPT instead of coming into our help center. And so these things are I'm thinking about how to get the right questions to the right answers to the right questions, knowing that might have no active participation in that exchange with some of our best customers or prospects and things like that. And so that's been a big focus of mine, but certainly using AI to accelerate creative and accelerate the handoffs and operation systems and then reporting to make sure we're not spending too much time doing all the manual work that we used to a couple years ago.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. So how big of a team do you have?
Yeah. So I lead our overall growth and brand marketing for the Roku ads overall, and that's about a dozen folks. And then ads managers specifically, we've got a handful of marketing folks and growing. And then we've got, a really great cross-functional team across product and sales and marketing and product strategy and operations. And so we're really kind of collectively bringing that to market. And that's a much larger kind of cross-functional group, which has been great. It's kind of been a startup within a company we all know of, but to me feels like very similar to some of the startups that I've been at even before Roku. Because we're lean, we're scrappy, and we found a lot of great product market fit. So that kind of that pace, you just kind of feel it, which is great. And I don't take it for granted because I've been in the opposite in the startup space where you don't feel that. And so I really appreciate the opportunity, and it's been a really exciting.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, man. It's like I think about like like my prior gig where it's like I mean I've been building startups my whole career, and I always like to describe it as it's like you're pushing a boulder up a hill, and if you're really lucky, at some point it starts rolling down and you feel it. You're like, whoa, things become a lot easier. The demand is there, the interest is there. People are onboarding and spending money and getting value, and other times it's not that way. You're just like, we're still pushing this boulder up a hill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
and you
getting
don't know how big the hill is. You're like, Are we almost there? Are we not?" It always feels almost there, but yeah,
Yeah.
very
No, it's
fast and
great.
slow at the same time.
Super interesting. Super, super interesting. Like when we talked a couple weeks ago, I'm like, Roku. It's like it's just a streaming it's a set-top device, right? It's like it's obviously so much more than that. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming in, and talking to me a bit about what's going on there. If there's anything I could do to help, by all means, happy to help. Love B2B, love ad tech, love marketing, CTV, the whole thing. So thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Have a good one.